In international diplomacy, there are moments when the world seems to hold its breath, when meetings between leaders have the power to shape the course of history for generations to come. These rare occasions are watched closely, not just by politicians and diplomats, but by ordinary people whose lives may be changed by the decisions made behind closed doors. The upcoming Washington summit between Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and U.S. President Donald Trump is one of those defining moments. The world's attention is fixed on the U.S. Capitol, as two leaders with outsized influence prepare to discuss the future of a region long plagued by conflict and uncertainty. Scheduled for December 2025, this meeting is widely seen as pivotal. It centers on the second phase of a U.S.-backed initiative designed to end the Gaza war and lay the groundwork for a new era in the Middle East. The stakes could not be higher, as the world waits to see if this summit can deliver real progress where so many previous efforts have faltered. The first phase of the plan managed to bring about a fragile ceasefire, offering a brief respite from violence. Yet, beneath the surface, deep-seated issues remain unresolved, issues that threaten to unravel the peace at any moment. The people of Gaza and the wider region are left in a state of anxious hope, uncertain about what the future holds. President Trump's invitation to Netanyahu is more than a diplomatic gesture. It signals a renewed American push for peace and stability in the region. For Netanyahu, the stakes are deeply personal as well as political. He arrives in Washington under the shadow of mounting legal and political pressures at home, including an ICC arrest warrant that complicates his international travel and adds a layer of tension to the proceedings. For President Trump, this summit is about more than just brokering peace. It's about cementing his foreign policy legacy. The U.S.-backed Gaza plan, now enshrined in United Nations Security Council Resolution 2803, represents a bold attempt to reshape the region's future and secure America's role as a global peacemaker. The summit's ambitious goal is to move beyond a temporary truce and tackle the root causes of the conflict. Central to the talks are the future of Hamas's rule in Gaza and the question of who will govern the territory in the years ahead. These are complex, deeply contentious issues that have stymied negotiators for decades. Around the globe, millions are watching, some with hope, others with skepticism. News of the summit dominates headlines, and people gather in homes, cafes, and public squares, anxiously awaiting updates. The decisions made in Washington could ripple across continents, affecting not just the Middle East, but the entire world. The discussions will be intense and, at times, fraught with disagreement. Both leaders face immense pressure, not only from their own governments and citizens, but from the international community, which is demanding real solutions and lasting peace. The stakes are enormous, with the potential to alter the trajectory of the region for years to come. The outcome of this high-stakes summit could redefine the future of Gaza, Israel, and the broader Middle East. For millions, the hope is that this meeting will mark the beginning of a new chapter, one defined not by conflict, but by the promise of peace and a better tomorrow. To truly grasp the stakes at play in this delicate moment, we need to look closely at what has already been accomplished and what remains uncertain. Consider the progress made so far, despite the immense challenges and deep-rooted mistrust on all sides. The first phase of the U.S.-led Gaza plan brought a halt to more than 2 years of relentless war, with a historic ceasefire declared in October 2025. For many, it was the first glimmer of hope in a long and brutal conflict. Israeli forces pulled back to a newly established ceasefire line, but they still maintain control over more than half of Gaza's territory. This partial withdrawal has eased some immediate violence, but it leaves the region tense and on edge. In a major breakthrough, Hamas released the last remaining Israeli hostages, reuniting families after years of uncertainty and fear. In return, Israel freed around 2,000 Palestinian detainees, painful but necessary steps to build a foundation of trust. Humanitarian aid has increased, with more supplies reaching those in desperate need. Yet, the devastation across Gaza is overwhelming. Entire neighborhoods lie in ruins, and the scars of war are visible everywhere. The needs of civilians, food, water, shelter, and medical care, far outstrip the relief currently available. For many, daily life remains a struggle for survival. The ceasefire, while welcome, is fragile, offering only a temporary reprieve from violence. The sense of uncertainty lingers in every empty street and tense border crossing. Phase 1 was always intended as a stopgap, a brief pause to create space for deeper, more difficult negotiations about the future. The conflict remains essentially frozen, with both sides still heavily armed and deeply wary of each other. Israeli troops remain inside Gaza, and the ceasefire line itself is undefined and hotly contested, a major sticking point for any lasting peace. The achievements so far are real, but they are precarious. Without careful, sustained effort and courageous leadership, this fragile calm could unravel at any moment, plunging the region back into chaos. As leaders look ahead, the last elements of Phase 1 are being finalized. The return of an Israeli officer's body, killed in the 2023 attacks, is a somber but crucial act for closure and trust. These negotiations are about more than territory, they're about people and loss. Completing this final exchange is a test of both sides' commitment and a prerequisite for moving to Phase 2. The peace plan is sequential. Each phase must be fully implemented before the next begins. Any failure now could derail the process, fueling distrust. With Phase 1 nearly done, attention shifts to Gaza's future. The transition from truce to lasting peace is daunting, and the final steps are critical. With Phase 1 nearly complete, all eyes turn to Phase 2, the most ambitious and challenging part of the US-backed plan. The goal: end Hamas's rule, demilitarize Gaza, and prevent future attacks on Israel. This means dismantling Hamas's military infrastructure and establishing a technocratic Palestinian committee to run daily affairs. Oversight would come from a US-chaired board, signaling deep American involvement. The plan envisions eventually restoring the Palestinian Authority to Gaza, unifying Palestinian leadership. But internal Palestinian divisions and the PA's weaknesses make this a tough sell. Phase 2 is about building a new reality: security, governance, and reconstruction. The Netanyahu-Trump summit aims to hammer out these complex details. The thorniest issue in Phase 2 is who will secure Gaza after the fighting. The US proposes a multinational international stabilization force, ISF, to keep order and prevent Hamas's return. Israel is skeptical, fearing an international force won't act decisively. Netanyahu insists on Israeli security control for now. Arab states are hesitant to send troops without a clear path to Palestinian statehood, which Israel opposes. Western nations are wary of a risky peacekeeping mission. The sequence, disarmament or withdrawal first, remains unresolved, fueling mistrust. Assembling a credible ISF is a massive diplomatic challenge. Finding a workable security solution will test all sides' resolve. The hardest task in Phase 2 is disarming Hamas, a non-negotiable for Israel, but a red line for Hamas. Disarmament means dismantling Hamas's military wing, tunnels, and weapons factories. For Hamas, giving up arms equals surrender and political irrelevance. They demand major concessions: lifting the blockade, full Israeli withdrawal, and a political role. Forced disarmament risks renewed fighting. Voluntary disarmament requires trust and incentives that don't yet exist. The US hopes international pressure, security guarantees, and reconstruction aid can persuade Hamas to shift from militancy to politics. Hamas's resilience and ability to regroup complicate matters. Without a credible disarmament plan, peace will remain elusive. The world is watching the Gaza peace plan and the Netanyahu-Trump summit closely. The UN has endorsed the plan, giving it global legitimacy and coordinating humanitarian aid. Europe supports peace, but insists on a two-state solution, clashing with Israel's current stance. Legal challenges, like ICC arrest warrants for Netanyahu, complicate diplomacy and strain relations with key allies. Germany and others are ready to help rebuild Gaza, but want clarity from the summit. International courts are investigating Israel for alleged war crimes, keeping pressure high. The global response is a mix of support, skepticism, and legal scrutiny. The summit's outcome will shape international engagement moving forward. Beyond security, the biggest divide is over the region's long-term future. Most of the world backs a two-state solution, an independent Palestine alongside Israel, as the only path to lasting peace. Netanyahu's government rejects Palestinian statehood, insisting on Israeli security control over all territory west of the Jordan River. This stance clashes with US and European visions, creating a major diplomatic rift. The future of the West Bank is also contentious, with settlement expansion and possible annexation fueling tensions. Divisions run deep within both Israeli and Palestinian societies, complicating consensus. Any peace plan must eventually win public support on both sides. With polarized views, common ground remains distant. As Netanyahu and Trump prepare to meet, the stakes could not be higher. The world's attention is fixed on their every move, knowing that the choices made in these rooms will shape the fate of millions. The atmosphere is tense, with both leaders under immense pressure to deliver results that could alter the course of history. Their decisions will determine whether the fragile Gaza ceasefire can transform into a lasting peace, or if it will unravel, plunging the region back into violence and uncertainty. Every gesture, every word exchanged, carries the weight of hope and fear for people on both sides of the border. For Gazans, hope is found in the possibility of finally ending the blockade, reopening borders, and rebuilding shattered lives. The dream of a normal life, where children can play safely and families can thrive, feels just within reach, yet still so fragile. But fear lingers that talks will collapse, leaving them trapped in a cycle of despair, poverty, and isolation. Many worry that promises will be broken, and that daily hardships will only deepen. Israelis, too, are filled with hope, hoping for a future where security is not just a dream, but a reality. They long for a time when families can live without the constant threat of rockets or attacks, and when peace feels permanent. Yet, there is deep fear that any loophole in the agreement could open the door to new violence. Memories of past attacks haunt many, making trust difficult to rebuild. Skepticism runs deep on both sides. Years of failed negotiations and broken promises have left many doubtful that any deal can truly deliver lasting change. The wounds of conflict are slow to heal. Ultimately, the true measure of success will be seen in the everyday lives of ordinary people: children returning to school, families shopping in safety, and communities rebuilding together. This summit is more than just a meeting. It is a turning point. Its outcome will echo across the region, influencing not only leaders, but the hopes and dreams of countless families. The world is watching, waiting to see if peace is finally within reach, or if old divisions will once again take hold. Every eye is on the outcome, every heart hoping for a breakthrough. The next chapter for Gaza, Israel, and the entire Middle East hangs in the balance as the world holds its breath for what comes next.